Goldie Takes a Stand, Golda Meir's First Crusade, written by Barbara Krasner, illustrated by Kelsey Garrity Riley. Will the meeting please come to order? I announced to the girls crowded into our two-room Walnut Street apartment. It was the first meeting of the American Young Sisters Society, a group of Jewish immigrants from Russia. I, Goldie Meir, naturally appointed myself president. In the room was my little sister Clara, my best friend Regina, my neighbor Belle and her sister Frida, my classmate Lillian, and others. I had called the meeting to discuss textbooks. The kids in our school don't have enough money to buy them, I explained. They need our help. Have you seen Jaime's book? Asked Regina. He says he's the third person in his family to use it. It's missing half its pages. Jenny keeps peeking over my shoulder to see my book, Frida said. I wish she'd get her own. How much money do we have to raise? Asked Belle. 3 cents a week, I said, from each of us. As the best math student in the whole 4th grade, naturally, it was up to me to figure this out. Lillian groaned. Goldie, that's too much. A loaf of bread costs 3 cents. So does a quart of milk, added Sarah. If Goldie thinks we can do it, we can, said Regina. But when the meeting was over, I wondered where Clara and I would get 6 cents each week. Then I knew what to do. Every morning before school, I worked at Mama's grocery store while she went to the farmer's market. The next day, when Mrs. Plotkin came to the counter with a quart of milk, I told her, my friends and I are trying to raise money to buy school books for kids who can't afford them, so your milk will be 5 cents today, please. Your mother only charges 3 cents, she protested, but she reached into her purse and handed me a nickel. Goldie, such a doer you are, she said, pinching my cheek. 5 cents for the bread, I told Mrs. Margolis. Poor kids need an education. He pulled his worn leather wallet out of his pocket, but 4 cents was all he had, and I couldn't take it. I counted Mrs. Garfinkel's eggs. There were 6. 10 cents, I told her. I'm trying to raise money for school books for kids who can't afford them. Humph! Your mother only charges a penny apiece. That's all I'm paying, she snapped. She grabbed her eggs and stomped out the door. But despite all my efforts, at the end of the week, Claire and I still hadn't raised our share. As president of the society, I listed our options. I could help kids with their math, but no one had money to pay for tutoring. I could get a job as a junior sales girl downtown, but Mama needed me before school, and Claire needed me after. Then I knew what to do. I decided we would have to give up something we loved. When Mama gave us each a penny for candy, I told Clara we'd have to do without. Do without candy? Clara sniffled. I nodded. Think of the good deed you're doing. But by the next meeting, no one had raised enough money. We need to think bigger, I said. We'll hold a public meeting, a fundraising gala, and collect from everyone at one time. We can make invitations, offered Frida. We can put together a list of important people to invite, suggested Lillian. Good ideas, I said, and naturally, I'll give a speech. Where will we put so many people? Sarah asked. I knew just what to do. The next day, I headed to Packen Hall, the only place large enough to hold our event. What do you want? A man in a fancy business suit asked me. I'm here to see the owner. I need to borrow the hall for a public event, I said. You're talking to him. I'm Goldie Meir, and I'm the president of the American Young Sisters Society. I told him about our cause. In the end, he donated the hall to us, still shaking his head. We wrote invitations and painted posters on butcher paper. All that was left was my speech, and for the first time, I didn't know what to do. Write it down, Mama said, then you won't forget anything. Night after night I struggled, but the words wouldn't come. When the time came, I would just have to speak from my heart. The night of our event, I peeked out from behind the Packen Hall stage curtain. Mama and Papa sat in the front row. The young sisters and their parents sat behind them. But where were the rest of the people? People with actual money. Knots formed in my stomach and throat. But I was president, so I took a deep breath, stepped onto the stage, and began. Imagine what it feels like to sit in your classroom without a textbook. You can't follow the teacher. You can't do your work. Education is the only way for us to lift ourselves out of poverty. I paused when I noticed our school principal push through the double doors in back of the hall and take a seat. The superintendent was with him. Then a handful of teachers appeared, and a sprinkling of parents. Then Mrs. Plotkin and Mr. Margolis, even Mrs. Garfinkel. People kept coming, dozens of them. The way we see it, I continued, my voice growing stronger, it's the community's responsibility to help Milwaukee kids who can't afford school books. I ask each of you to look into your hearts and wallets and give what you can. When I finished, everyone leaped up and started clapping. Regina yet led the young sisters through the aisles with their collection baskets. Men pulled out their wallets, women opened their purses, and even Mrs. Garfinkel gave a couple of coins. We raised a lot of money, I said as we walked home afterwards. Mama grinned. I guess that means the American Young Sisters Society is out of business. The truth was, I'd been thinking about a new society, one to raise money to teach English to immigrants. I knew just what to do, and naturally, I'd be president.